I'm Daniel Veksler, and I'm here to help you understand Russia better and without bias. After World War II, as the Cold War intensified, Russia began to look south and east for alliances and partnerships. While China underwent a sweeping communist revolution with Soviet support, the Muslim world became the Soviet Union's chief economic partner. Over the next few decades, the Soviet Union's main vector of trade was with the Muslim world. They traded everything from chocolate to military technology. By the Soviet Union's collapse in 1991, the USSR was the Muslim world's biggest single client, accounting for 30% of the region's entire economy. The Soviet Union also tended to support revolutions in these countries by economic, political, and military means. Many of the decades-long dictatorships in countries like Libya and Egypt existed largely thanks to Soviet support. Then, in the early 90s, when the former Soviet Union broke into 15 pieces and much of Russia's technological and manufacturing infrastructure was privatized, trade slowed down enormously, as the handful of so-called oligarchs into whose hands the national industries of the Soviet Union had fallen, at fractions of their worth, looked west for new partnerships. Russia's political vector had changed too, and it now oriented itself under Boris Yeltsin toward friendship and developing relations with the West. Lured by the promise of Western free market and banking trade, Russia cut off many economic ties with the Muslim world. The Western markets were saturated, however, and Russia, once again in an economic crisis, could not compete. Its one major export became energy, oil and natural gas. Today, after the United States and NATO intervention has helped to topple most of the regimes in the Muslim countries, and as relations between Russia and the West have once again soured over a number of political issues, Russia has begun to support the regimes that remain. Vladimir Putin supports Bashar al-Assad in Syria, for example. He even says, Assad may be a dictator, but he is the only person capable of mounting any serious resistance to the fundamentalist Islamic State. Russian troops have spent time fighting against ISIS in Syria. Last November, a passenger plane filled with Russian civilians exploded in mid-air after taking off from an Egyptian airport. ISIS claimed this was an act of vengeance for Russian military involvement in Syria. Later the same month, Turkish armed forces shot down a Russian bomber, which the Russians claim was bombing ISIS from Syrian airspace. The Turkish side, meanwhile, claimed the Russian plane had crossed the border into Turkey. Turkey, a member of NATO, is fighting against Assad. Vladimir Putin has also been an instrumental mediator in the negotiations with Iran over its nuclear program. He and his government have largely argued in favor of strict and independent international controls. We have not even touched upon two of the hottest topics in Russian-Muslim relations: Afghanistan and the heinous and bloody war between Russia and the Islamic Republic of Chechnya, and Chechnya's keystone role in Russia's political life today. We will address this next time on Understand Russia.